Have you ever been showered with so much affection that it felt too good to be true? Or found yourself questioning your own sanity after a seemingly innocuous conversation? Welcome to the dark world of psychological manipulation, where affection can turn into a weapon and reality can become a twisted illusion. In this video, we'll dive into the disturbing tactics manipulators use to control and exploit their victims. From the seductive charm of love bombing to the mind-bending effects of gaslighting, we'll uncover how these strategies silently erode self-confidence and autonomy. Brace yourself as we peel back the layers of manipulation and reveal how seemingly innocent gestures can hide a sinister agenda. Prepare to see the hidden dynamics behind love, guilt, and control that might be shaping your interactions in ways you never imagined. Let's start with love bombing. Love bombing is a manipulative tactic where the abuser overwhelms their victim with excessive affection, attention, and praise, creating a false sense of being deeply loved. The manipulator uses flattering compliments, lavish gifts, and frequent discussions of grand future plans to make the victim feel incredibly special and central to their life. However, this apparent adoration is a facade designed to rapidly gain power and control over the victim. Manipulators use love bombing to make the victim heavily dependent on the praise, only to abruptly withdraw it, causing the victim to crave the affection and become more susceptible to the abuser's demands. Historically, it is believed that Adolf Hitler used love bombing on his wife, Eva Braun, to keep her devoted while he pursued his destructive political ambitions. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological manipulation technique where someone makes another person question their perception of reality, memory, and sanity. The term originates from the 1938 play Gaslight, in which a husband convinces his wife she is losing her mind by subtly dimming their home's gaslights and denying any change when she notices. This insidious tactic undermines the victim's self-confidence and trust in their own judgment. Gaslighters employ a range of strategies, including telling confusing lies, withholding crucial information, shifting the blame, and denying the victim's experiences and feelings. This constant manipulation can leave the victim feeling isolated and doubting their sanity, making it a powerful tool for control and abuse. Guilt tripping. Guilt tripping occurs when a manipulator makes someone feel bad about themselves, their actions, or their inaction in a specific situation. For instance, if a toxic individual isn't invited to a friend's party and later discovers this, they might say, "I can't believe you didn't invite me to your party. I thought we were closer than that." This statement is designed to instill feelings of guilt in the friend and ensure an invitation next time. Guilt tripping is a subtle yet powerful tactic that preys on the victim's sense of responsibility and emotional vulnerability, often leading them to act against their own best interests to appease the manipulator. Silent treatment. The silent treatment is a manipulative tactic commonly seen in relationships, but can also occur in the workplace, among friends, and online. It involves withholding communication or information as a form of punishment. A manipulator might avoid eye contact or completely ignore the victim's presence, even when in the same room, as a means of control. This tactic is akin to ghosting, which also entails a lack of communication between the manipulator and the victim. However, while the silent treatment is used for punishment and control, ghosting is a passive and disrespectful way to end a relationship or friendship permanently. Although ghosting isn't always intended as manipulation, it still results in a lack of closure, leaving the victim feeling rejected, abandoned, and confused. Isolation. Isolation is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator deliberately severs the victim's connections with friends and family, ensuring there is no support network to challenge their control. This is achieved by undermining the victim's relationships, gradually turning them against their loved ones, and convincing them that these relationships are detrimental to their well-being. Additionally, the manipulator fosters a sense of dependency by making the victim feel they need their support or approval, instilling fear that they cannot survive without them. This method is commonly used by abusive partners, cult leaders, and online predators to exert dominance and maintain control over their victims. Playing the victim. Playing the victim is a tactic where a manipulator pretends to be the one wronged or hurt, despite being the guilty party. This approach is sometimes used even by non-abusive or non-manipulative individuals to avoid taking responsibility for their actions. The manipulator shifts the blame onto others, exaggerates their own problems, and seeks sympathy, all while refusing to acknowledge their wrongdoing. This strategy effectively diverts attention from their faults, making it challenging for others to confront them without appearing harsh or unsympathetic. By forcing the other person to accuse them and take a firm stance, the manipulator often gains an advantage, as most people are uncomfortable with such direct confrontation. Triangulation. This tactic involves introducing a third party to stir jealousy and competition within the victim, making them feel they must vie for the manipulator's attention. The manipulator may flirt with or spend more time with this third party, deliberately excluding the victim from their activities. By fostering a sense of rivalry, the manipulator intensifies the victim's feelings of insecurity and inadequacy. They might even spread rumors about the victim to the third party, escalating the conflict and further pitting them against each other. This manipulation creates an environment where the victim becomes more vulnerable and easier to control, either by the manipulator or the third party. Shaming. Shaming, like threats, manifests in various forms. Public humiliation involves a manipulator making negative comments about the victim in front of others or online to embarrass them. The manipulator might compare the victim unfavorably to others, making them feel inadequate and inferior. They may blame the victim for the manipulator's own actions, mock them to make them feel foolish, or openly exclude them from social activities and events. This tactic aims to erode the victim's self-esteem and social standing, making them more susceptible to the manipulator's control. Aggressive jokes. Jokes can often carry deeper meanings and manipulative intentions, subtly targeting the victim in various ways. Writer Shahida Arabi explores this in their article for Thought Catalog, noting that covert narcissists enjoy making malicious remarks at your expense. These are usually dressed up as just jokes, so that they can get away with saying appalling things while still maintaining an innocent, cool demeanor. Yet anytime you are outraged at an insensitive, harsh remark, you are accused of having no sense of humor. Such jokes cross the line, escalating from mere sarcasm to outright insults, gaslighting, and exclusionary comments. Additionally, at social gatherings, these jokes can be used strategically to isolate the recipient, making them appear foolish and turning the surrounding crowd into passive aggressors. Emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail involves a manipulator using threats, guilt, or other forms of emotional coercion to control their victim. A common tactic is withholding affection, where the manipulator withdraws emotional support and care until the victim meets their demands. This creates a pressure-filled environment where the victim feels compelled to comply to regain the affection they are being denied. Additionally, the manipulator might make promises or commitments to the victim, only to break them later, furthering the cycle of manipulation and reinforcing the victim's sense of instability and dependency. Fake moralization. This tactic involves a manipulator feigning high moral standards and values to gain power and control over others. Since most people are averse to authoritative or aggressive leaders, manipulators disguise their true intentions by engaging in virtue signaling, publicly endorsing a cause or charity to garner praise and appear virtuous. Despite their outward displays of morality, these manipulators often engage in hypocritical behavior behind the scenes. Unfortunately, it is challenging for victims to recognize and confront this hypocrisy, making it a difficult tactic to counter. The manipulator's public image of virtue can obscure their true motives, leaving victims struggling to see through the facade. Projection. Projection involves attributing your own thoughts and feelings to someone else, causing them to believe they are responsible for what you actually feel or have done. This tactic, often referred to as victim blaming, sees manipulators accusing their victims of behaviors or faults they themselves possess, while failing to recognize the contradiction between their accusations and their own actions. Deflection is a related tactic where the manipulator shifts attention away from their own flaws or misdeeds by pointing the finger at someone else. Unlike projection, where the manipulator is usually unaware of their own hypocrisy and subconsciously shifts the blame, deflection involves a conscious effort to avoid responsibility by redirecting scrutiny onto others. Smear campaigns. Awareness of smear campaigns has become a significant topic of discussion in recent years. Unlike many other manipulation tactics we've covered, smear campaigns are not typically the work of a single individual targeting another. Instead, they are often employed by politicians and celebrities who accuse the media and the public of damaging their reputation for personal gain. Smear campaigns involve spreading rumors and gossip to make the victim appear untrustworthy and unreliable. This is usually done by misrepresenting their words, and distorting their intended meanings to serve a specific agenda. Character assassination is a central component of smear campaigns, because if the victim is portrayed as immoral or unethical, any attack against them seems justified. For example, Michael Jackson frequently accused the media of portraying him as a pedophile, which led to severe public backlash. Similarly, Donald Trump spent much of his 2016 U.S. presidential campaign criticizing the media for their attacks against him. These high-profile cases illustrate how smear campaigns can polarize public opinion, with support for these figures remaining deeply divided. Regardless of personal opinions about them, these instances serve as notable examples of smear campaigns targeting individuals. Shifting the goalposts. Shifting the goalposts is a tactic commonly used in arguments where the manipulator continually changes the criteria or standards for success to avoid admitting they were wrong or taking responsibility. For example, imagine a boss promises an employee a salary raise if they complete a specific task by a deadline. Once the employee meets this deadline, the boss then demands 3 additional tasks before granting the raise, shifting the original goalposts. Similarly, a parent might promise a child a reward for cleaning the house, but then withhold the reward because the child didn't achieve a previously undisclosed academic standard. This tactic keeps the victim in a perpetual state of striving for an ever-moving target, making it difficult for them to achieve what was initially promised and often leaving them feeling frustrated and powerless. Changing the subject. Manipulators often favor this quick tactic because it's easy for the victim to fall for unless they are alert enough to call it out and keep the conversation on track. While shifting the goalposts can vary in severity, as with many other manipulation tactics we've discussed, it's one of the subtler tricks that can signal deeper layers of manipulation. Recognizing and addressing this tactic might prompt the victim to question if there are more significant manipulative strategies at play. Playing on insecurities. Manipulators often prey on their victims' fears and anxieties, deliberately undermining their confidence to make them more susceptible to control. By creating insecurity and self-doubt, manipulators can more easily manipulate their victims. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, is a historical example of someone who exploited people's insecurities to recruit followers. He targeted individuals who were lost and vulnerable, presenting Scientology as a path to personal transformation and enlightenment. By preying on their fears of the unknown and concerns about rejection from friends and family, he promised them acceptance and belonging. This strategy effectively drew tens of thousands of people into his cult, demonstrating the power of exploiting emotional vulnerabilities for manipulation. Infantilization. Manipulators often use tactics such as a patronizing tone to belittle and disrespect their victims, or engage in intense micromanagement of every detail of their lives. This demeaning treatment is designed to undermine the victim's confidence and independence, effectively treating them like children or infants. The primary goal is to exert power and control. When someone is consistently treated poorly, it can severely demoralize them, making it challenging to summon the strength to confront their abuser and assert themselves. Threats or coercion. Threats come in various forms. The most obvious is the physical threat of violence or damage to someone's property if the victim doesn't comply with the manipulator's demands. Emotional threats involve actions like threatening to end a relationship over trivial disagreements or spreading damaging rumors about someone. Financial threats occur when someone withholds financial support or threatens the victim's monetary stability, a tactic hackers often use against companies after successful data breaches. A notable example is the recent ransomware attack on Colonial Pipeline, a major U.S. fuel pipeline operator, where hackers demanded $4.4 million in Bitcoin for the decryption key. Financial threats can quickly escalate into legal threats, with one party threatening to sue another. Lastly, social threats involve the manipulator threatening to ruin the victim's reputation through lies, smear campaigns, and slander. We've explored various manipulation tactics, from love bombing to gaslighting, revealing how they undermine confidence and control. Use this insight to protect yourself, not to manipulate others. Stay aware and seek support if needed. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.